there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash. I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now you join me just as the light is starting to fall at Oak Lodge, my woodland retreat, and I'm just enjoying a day of some introspection and reflecting upon, my life journey, my goals, things like that. I like to come up to the woods to clear the mind, and it allows me to think, and it also allows me to answer the odd question from you guys. And I have a question here from Ryan. And Ryan asks, we live in a busy world, and the journey to Chap Nirvana can be confounded by distractions and mundane tasks that derail our best intentions. Don't we know that? Can you share your approach to balancing our constant need to feel productive, answering emails, responding to one-off requests and so on, with making meaningful progress on our goals, such as pursuing training, education, or creating a plan for the future? That is a great question from Ryan. And of course, he is entirely correct. Without even realizing it, the majority of us spend huge portions of our time sort of distracted into the minutiae of life, which in many cases is not helping us in any way. And we are often totally drawn in to those electronic devices, which are, well, let's be honest, they were created to make our lives easier, but now they sort of tap off more of our available time than we actually gain back from the things. So technology, in many ways, has been subverted to steal our time and not give us more of it. Only last week, not too long ago, my home here, we suffered a bit of my son would have called it an utter catastrophe, but our broadband internet service went down. It turned out that in the junction box, where everything is connected in the street, a metal wire had sort of deteriorated and caused our house, only our house in the street, to be cut off from broadband internet service. So, it was horrendous for my young lad, who, of course, his social life, everything about him, his whole consciousness is now online. But 3 weeks we were cut off. During that 3-week period of sort of enforced digital detox, you would be surprised how we leapt forward as a small family. We started reading more. We still had traditional television, don't get me wrong, but you realise how pretty rubbish that is when that's all you have to watch. But we started reading more. We played board games as a family after we'd had our evening meal. Now, we hadn't done that for some time, and it was really bonding for us to do that. Lots got done. Myself, I noticed my creativity was unleashed. I wrote a lot more. I made my entries in my journal, which I write every day, but I made them much longer, much more effusive about the day that I had just led. Whereas in the past, it would be quite short, brief sentences. When I had loads of time, no distractions, I really let my juices flow. And, they were several pages long, talking in great detail about the enjoyment of the day that I just had. My creativity was unleashed. In the evenings, where I would quickly jot down notes for these sort of conversations that we have on the channel, I found that I was going much deeper into my thoughts because I had a lot more time. So the distraction of things like the internet and other things are quite significant. It was a timely reminder for us as a family and me as a person that actually putting aside some time and being very thoughtful about how we balance our lives really did, hit home to me, because lots of skills and qualities came out that I wouldn't normally see in my life. So, balancing those demands, that's what Ryan asked. How do we do it? Well, I have a number of ideas here, 5 ideas, in which as I read in the, I think it's 5, no, 4. 4 ideas of how I stay abreast of balancing my life as we go through time together. So I'm going to give you the first one straight away. And you'll excuse me for referring to my notes because, this is perhaps, as you can gather, not necessarily my most professional video here in the darkening woods next to a fire in torchlight. But the first thing I would suggest is very important, is to prioritize deep work versus the shallow work that you will encounter in life. Now, I need to categorize what they are. Deep work. Deep work is the work that requires a high level of focus and will actively contribute to your benefit long term. It's things like training, education, really impactful things like that, learning a new skill, things which are significantly valuable in your long-term journey, right? This is deep work. It can't be skipped over. It's important. Basically, it's the most valuable activity which you will undertake, opposed to shallow work, which involves necessary but low impact, high volume things that you tend to spend a lot of time doing. So it is things like answering emails. For me, in my life as a small-time YouTuber, it's engaging with the many people who contact me asking for questions to be answered, brands who are asking for me to review things. So it's things like that. It's important work, but it isn't significantly valuable in the long-term game of things. It's shallow work. So when you categorize your work into one of those two areas, then you are able to more appropriately apportion the available time that you have into one or the other of those pathways to allow you to focus on deep work, shallow work. And you get the best value out of your time if you're able to do that. Now, I do this in my journal, right? In my journal here, every day and for days in advance, I prioritize the things I'm going to do. Tomorrow, for instance, I'm going out on the road. I am going to, I think it's about 100 miles away. I've been booked to give a talk to a university group, and that's going to be my entire activity tomorrow. But I have other things to do as well. On my journey, I have to call into a store from a brand who I'm working with, and they are asked me to call in and pick some things up, which I will review here on the channel. It happens to be on my journey. There's deep work, there's shallow work there. There's work which will result in an income. There's work, well, it's useful, I can do it, I could do it another time if I had to. Deep work, shallow work, there's the determination. And I plan it all out in my journal, as far ahead as I possibly can. That way, I'm pushing my time into the most valuable aspects of my life. And the other thing I do, if I'm working from home and I've got something really important to do, so some of you may know, I am a funeral celebrant. So part of my working life involves writing the eulogies for people's funerals. Now, this is quite intense work. I have to, burrow deep into somebody's life journey, their biography, and channel that into a 10-minute written eulogy of around about 1,200 words. It's quite intensive stuff on the brain. That's deep work. I schedule my deep work for the earlier parts of the day, in the morning, before lunch, when I know through my own experience, at my most productive, where I have the greatest mental acuity, where I can focus with a laser-like attention on the things that I do. In the afternoon, I get a bit more distracted. I know from experience, I am not at my super best in the afternoons. Mornings are my best. So, when you categorize deep work, shallow work, it allows you to put it in times in your schedule where you know you are going to be performing at your very best. And I batch those shallow tasks all together at times where perhaps I'm not at my best level of productivity. So maybe I'll allow 2 hours every afternoon to crank through the emails, get them all done. I just find it more helpful to do it that way. Now, the next thing I do to make sure that there is balance in my life is I adopt a weekly planning mindset. And by that, I mean, at the beginning of every week, I set myself some clear outcome-based goals that I intend to achieve during the course of that week. And it's simple stuff, to be honest. I mean, most weeks I will set myself the target, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times in that week, or take robust physical exercise, go running, go to the gym. I am going to read for 1 hour every day, however I split that up. At the moment, I'm reading for about half an hour at lunchtime, half an hour before I go to bed. But it depends on my schedule. The day after tomorrow, I'm going to the dentist. So I might have 20 minutes, half an hour in the waiting room. I'm going to make sure I take my book with me, because by planning ahead to get that life balance, you can, make sure that you are equipped to deal with your outcome-based goals by taking things like carrying my book around with me in my bag, things like that. My goal as a YouTuber, I have to film 3 videos every week. If I can film 4, it means I've got a bit more slack in the following week. So for me, minimum 3 videos filmed every week. It allows me to keep the focus. By planning like this, outcome-based goals at the beginning of the week, it means I'm able to focus quite heavily on the things which have to be done. And I set myself waypoints in the week. So my working week, Monday to Saturday generally, I will look at my week and say, okay, it's Wednesday. I've only been to the gym once. That means I've got to put my arse in gear. I've got to go at least twice before the end of the week. I've got to stay on top of those goals. Or if I'm perhaps, say, I was unable to read for the last 2 days because I was out working, or I was so tired going to bed I just didn't have the wherewithal to read, I know I have to step it up. I have to double up on the remaining days to hit my outcome-based goals. It really does help if you set these targets and waypoints throughout the week to keep the balance going. Now, whilst I'm talking about, sort of business activity in a way, you can do exactly the same with your family activities. If you want to spend time with your children, spend time with your partner, go out or dine together 2 or 3 times a week. If you and your wife or partner is very busy, you don't often get the opportunity to eat dinner together, shift it around. Make sure that you are hitting those outcome-based goals, and you will definitely see the balance of life being drawn back in your favour. Now, one other thing you can try applying in your life, it's quite hard, but it can be done if you've got quite a good grip of your diary, is try time blocking periods of your week, reserve blocks of time for activities which you know are of high importance to you. So for me, it would be, I have to record those 3 videos a week. So I can block off Friday to do those videos. If I look at the week ahead, I know that's something I've got to do. If I haven't got those videos done, that day is a total black mark around it, ring-fenced. It's going to be a video-only day. Time blocking. There's lots of things you can do that for, because it allows you to set your focus entirely on that activity during that day, and in the days before, actually subliminally, you start to build yourself up for that activity too. It's a bit like if you ever do any road racing, right? Go for a run. You get psyched up for it days in advance, and you'll perform your best on that day because you eat a little better, you prepare mentally so that on the day you are on top form. The same thing happens, I have found, if you block time off. Now, you can block that time off for the shallow work as well. If you know that you're going to be ahead of the game Wednesday afternoon, I am just going to spend the whole afternoon going through all of those dozens of emails which I get from people asking for advice, a tip about this, that or the other, about men's style, clothing or whatever. You can block it all off. And when you've got into that mindset, then you'll be in a flow state, which will allow you to work much faster. So time blocking, I find, helps in getting the work done, but also setting the mind for the activity that you need to do. And it can be, whatever your situation is. If you're looking to do lots of self-development, you can block Monday off and say, okay, Monday is learning and self-development. For that day, I'm going to read, I'm going to go to the library, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to achieve that goal. Tuesday could be a planning day for you. You've got lots of things which need to slot together like a jigsaw in your life. Set aside Tuesday as the day which you focus on all of that planning, getting everything to work together. And if you get a little bit behind, you can block a day off as a catch-up day. No new work. All I'm going to do on Friday is catch up with everything I've been unable to get on top of in the previous week. That means, my focus is solely on this thing. I'm going to turn the phone off. I'm not going to answer any new emails. I am just doing the things which have fallen behind. I think you'll find that time blocking works very well for the mindset and also for that allowing you to get that flow state with the things which perhaps need to get done, but maybe you've missed a little bit. And finally, and perhaps this is very important for people who are interested in balancing life, all right? What you have to do is embrace imperfection. Because in your question, Ryan, you posed the query, how do you balance the constant need to feel productive with making meaningful progress towards your goals? Well, basically, Ryan, I've got to tell you, I don't. I absolutely don't. I fully understand now, after a lifetime of being on the hamster wheel, that progress only happens over time. And I really do try to remember that not every day is going to be maximally perfect for me. I'm not going to be productive. I'm not going to get the things done which I want to every day. And sometimes the magic doesn't flow. And it all goes to hell. And actually there have been days where I have felt where nothing's going to work today. Whatever I do, whatever effort I make, I'm going to fumble it, I'm going to drop the ball. So on days like that, I got to be honest with you, it doesn't happen all that often. But I write the day off. I will do whatever I need to do to press the factory reset button on myself. I might just sit in front of the TV and watch a box set on Netflix. I don't do that very often, I have to be honest. Or I might just take the car and drive to a nearby town and walk around the market and go for a nice meal on my own at lunchtime. I'm pushing the reset button because sometimes my mind, my body tells me, enough, all right? You've done enough, let's take a break. And you've got to embrace imperfection, because when those days come along, you've got to learn to recognize them. You've got to go along with what your body and your brain is asking you to do, because otherwise it's not going to work. Yes, it's good to have consistency and focus and to plan and get that balance right. But every so often when those days come along which it's just too much of a hump to climb, you've got to say, okay, I'm not even going to attempt to climb today. I'm going to stay at the bottom because tomorrow I'll be brighter, stronger and better at the climb the following day. So that's kind of my observations there. Embrace imperfection. There is no great trick to balancing life. It is a long, drawn-out battle and we don't always win it. So there we go. My approach really to obtaining balance in life, there's a lot of simplicity there. I don't lie about that. It's entirely managed basically in my personal journal, in which I manage my planning, my thoughts, my goals and targets. I've spoken about journaling many times on the channel. I'm not going to bore you all about it again, but it is good to have a place, a base in your life where you can go to, write things down, do a bit of introspection. You can plan things, set goals. It's just useful to have that touch point where you can go to. It's like a home base for you. So I do find that rather useful. And it allows me then to plan these things and gives me the focus I need to be the best version of myself that I need to be on the individual tasks which I undertake. Okay, there we go. That is enough. I have answered the question on how I achieve balance in my life. I hope you found it useful. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe. If you'd like to see more videos like this, well, by all means, drop me a question and I will answer your questions, just as I did today for Ryan. Or, you can drop it into the comments or via an email. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that by buying me a coffee, one-off thing, or for a tiny sum each month, you can join my Patreon group, the links to which is in the show notes below. And as a member of the group, you will get the additional videos I release each and every week, and you'll have a personal connection to me because I interact directly with all of the guys in my Patreon community. And the links to that, as I say, down below. Get on there. I'll see you there soon. So until the next time, do what you need to do to achieve the balance necessary to get most enjoyment out of your life. And I'll speak to you again very soon.